Hi, and welcome to this different travel information session about our Explore Escambray Cuba trek taking place in October 2024. My name's Jenny from Different Travel, and I'm going to talk to you about this amazing trek, which takes you from Cuba's capital city, Havana, through the Escambray Mountains to Trinidad on the Caribbean coast. Before I go into the itinerary in greater detail, I want to talk to you a bit about our Different Travel company health and safety assurance. So your health and safety is our top priority, and please rest assured that we take steps to ensure you not only have a memorable experience but a safe one too. We constantly monitor and follow the advice of the British Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, who provide recommendations and advice to British travellers about travel to a certain destination. Health and safety is our top priority, so we will never operate a trip in an area where there is clear and present risk to our team members, whether that's due to a health outbreak, political instability, natural disaster, or anything else. If travel restrictions in either the UK or Cuba prevent safe travel, we will look to either postpone or cancel your trip at no cost to you. Please note that at the time of travel, there may be enhanced safety and security measures in airports. Bag drop may take longer, and you may need to provide a certificate of health or proof of vaccination. But we'll inform you about any information pertinent to your travel arrangements if needs be, nearer the time. So on this trip, you're going to discover the buzzing heart of Havana and historic Trinidad. You're going to trek through the Escambray Mountains, which are Cuba's second largest mountain range. You'll witness the country's varied and iconic architecture, and you'll see many of those famous, really well-preserved vintage American cars. And your return flights, meals, and accommodation are all included. So there's just a map here which shows you where Cuba is in relation to the UK. It's about a 14 to 15-hour flight, and Cuba's just sitting there, just off to the east of the Gulf of Mexico and to the south of Cuba. It's the largest island in the Caribbean Sea, one of the world's last remaining communist countries. It's famous for cigars, rum, vintage American cars, and salsa dancing, and it's home to the bee hummingbird, which is the smallest bird in the world. So the map here just shows you where you're going to be on this trip, starting in Havana and then trekking through Escambray, which is just above Trinidad. As you can see from this, Cuba's quite a long, narrow island. It's just under half the size of the UK, but with a population of only about 11 million people. So I'm going to go through the itinerary, and once I've done that, I will go into a little bit more detail about some things like the weather and accommodation and food. So on the first day of the trip, which is the 12th of October 2024, you'll be flying from London to Havana, and on arrival, we'll meet our guide and we'll transfer to a hotel and we'll have dinner and stay overnight. Then on the Sunday, we'll be spending the morning in Havana. We'll have a chance to explore the capital city of Cuba. It's really colourful. It's got lots of fascinating things going on. There's lots of American cars. There's beautiful buildings. And we'll have a really good look round. And then after lunch, we transfer to the Hanabania Lake, which is set high up in the Escambray Mountains. And that's going to be our base for the next 2 nights. So on Monday, we will start off with a hike around the Hanabania Reservoir. So this was a favourite spot of the former high-level Cuban leaders who all used to visit the area for R&R, for walking and fishing. And it's really spectacular. Provides a really beautiful introduction to Cuban flora and fauna. And we get away from the usual tourist trails and we kind of get really deep into the countryside. So on this first day, we're going to be trekking about 15 kilometres and returning to the same hotel that night. And there's a beautiful scene here, which is taken from a high viewpoint, which gives you a lovely overview of the whole lake. It really is absolutely stunning. On Tuesday, we go from the Hanabania Lake to Guanayara, and we'll start off by taking a boat across the lake, and then we start trekking across the Escambray Mountains. We'll head towards the Salto de Rocio, which is a 25-metre high waterfall, and it's got a beautiful natural pond underneath, so you'll be able to have a refreshing swim. There's going to be quite a few opportunities for swimming in places like this on this trek, So be sure to bring your swimming things with you and pack them in your day pack. You might spot Cuban trogons, hummingbirds and woodpeckers along the way. And we'll continue trekking until we reach the old hacienda, which is where we're going to camp overnight. You've got a choice tonight. You can either sleep in a tent, or if you prefer, you can just sleep out on mats under the eaves of the hacienda. On Wednesday, we go from Guanayara to Codina, and we continue uphill into the mountains. You'll be surrounded by an abundance of ancient tree ferns, bamboo, eucalyptus. It's a hilly area, and in the 1950s, after the revolution, opponents of Fidel Castro used to hide out in these hills, and from there they would be able to attack the new government's officials. On the trek today, we'll reach our highest point, which is the Pico San Juan at 1,140 meters. And then late in the afternoon, we reach a hacienda, and then from there, we'll get a bus transfer to our hotel. We'll make a relaxing stop at a local coffee house en route, and then we'll be in the hotel for the next 2 nights. We'll either have dinner at the hotel, or on one of the nights, hopefully, we'll be able to go and eat at a paladar, which is a typical privately run Cuban restaurant. There's a little scene here of coffee being made at one of the coffee houses. And then on the Thursday, you'll be doing a circular walk from Codina, and you'll be going along the trail which is called the Caburni Vegas Grandes. It's quite an arduous and mostly uphill trek, and you'll be going through a lot of dense vegetation really into the heart of the mountains. Then you'll reach an astonishing waterfall and a natural pond. This is the Vegas Grandes, and it'll be a lovely place to have a really nice cooling swim and a relax before we walk back to the hotel. So there's a guide here with some of the local wildlife, and just another of these beautiful, beautiful natural ponds and the waterfall. On Friday, it's our final day of trekking. So this is the 5th trek day. And today it's going to change a little bit. The scenery is going to be quite different because we're going to be going through dry scrubland. You'll get occasional views of the beautiful turquoise Caribbean Sea. We're going to start in Mangos Pelones, and we're going to find another waterfall and another chance for a little swim. And then we continue towards El Cubano, which is where we complete our trek. From there, we'll head down to Trinidad, and after lunch, we will go to the beach and have a really nice relax on the beach. And then in the evening, we'll have a celebration dinner, which will either be at our hotel in Trinidad or it might be at a local restaurant. On Saturday morning, we get the opportunity to have a tour of the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Trinidad. It's really beautiful. You can see from this slide that the buildings are so multicolored. It's got cobbled streets and colonial style housing, and it's just very, very unchanged, very tranquil. It will be a real step back in time. And then after we've had lunch, we return back to Havana, and we'll have our final dinner and overnight stay before, unfortunately, on Sunday, we have to check out of Havana, our hotel in Havana, and fly home to the UK. Now, we don't know what time the flights will be at yet, but if we're lucky, it'll be an evening flight, which will give you a good chunk of the day to actually spend in Havana, having a bit more of a look around. And if it's a late flight, then again, because of the time it takes, it will probably be an overnight flight landing in the UK the next day. So what are the conditions like underfoot, and what's the climate going to be like? Well, it's tropical climate in Cuba. Typical temperatures in October range from about 22 degrees centigrade up to about 31, and a daytime average temperature of about 27 degrees C. It will also feel quite humid, and there will be a risk of some storms or some rain showers. It's right at the end of the rainy season, so you might get short, sharp rain showers followed by sunshine. The nights are going to be warm. The temperature probably won't drop much below 20 degrees. And so as a general rule, you're going to be perfectly fine with t-shirt or a shirt and lightweight trekking trousers. On a trip like this, it would be really good to have technical fabric for your t-shirt and trousers because that wicks away the sweat from your body and evaporates really quickly. which means that these can be worn for several days on the trot without getting too smelly. They'll dry out really quickly and so on. Underfoot, as I think I've mentioned, there's quite a lot of uphill on this trick. There will be some areas where there's wooden steps. They're not necessarily always in the best condition. So it's going to be going through dense vegetation, quite a lot of hills, and maybe areas which are going to be a little bit wet and slippy. As for the accommodation, you're going to spend 7 nights in hotels or possibly some casas particulares, which are the traditional Cuban run B&Bs. And then you'll have 1 night camping out at a hacienda. You may find that the hotels are a little bit basic and old-fashioned compared to what we're used to, but they'll be comfortable and they'll be functional. You'll have ensuite facilities in your room, so you'll have a toilet and a shower, but you should be prepared for low water pressure at times. I think this is one of these things that is just a part and parcel of life in Cuba, and one of the things that obviously we're not really used to, but we will get on with it and embrace it. The casas particulares, which we might stay at, are Cuban B&Bs. So you might be sharing a local Cuban's home. They could be just a few people in it, or it could be almost like a hostel. They all vary, and it depends on what's available at the time. And for the night that we are camping out, you'll need to bring a very lightweight sleeping bag. So something like a season 1 sleeping bag, or even just a fleecy sleeping bag liner should be absolutely fine for that 1 night. So what about the food? This is always a question that everyone wants to know about. Well, Cuban food has roots in many cultures. Some of the most influential are African, Spanish, and Italian. And the typical food will include rice, beans, chicken, fried plantains, sweet potatoes. There will be quite a lot of flavour, but it won't be spicy. Spicy food's not popular in Cuba. Sweet food, however, is. So you'll probably find quite a few sweet desserts along the way. And if you get yourself a coffee, it's likely to come with a reasonable amount of sugar in it. Be aware that Cuba doesn't have the same variety of international cuisine, and particularly outside of Havana. So your food may be a little bit limited and repetitive. And if you want snacks, you are recommended to bring your own, because things like biscuits and cereal bars are difficult to find. The tap water in Cuba is not safe to drink. You'll be provided with bottled water throughout the trip, and you're recommended to bring some water purification tablets as well. Now, if you have any special dietary requirements, special dietary requirements, for example, you're vegan or vegetarian, or if you have any food allergies or intolerances, these can be catered for, but please give us specific in-depth details when you make your booking. And if anything changes between the time of booking and departure, please be sure to contact us and update us, just so that we can make sure we can accommodate your needs. Luggage on the trek is quite straightforward, because during the trek, your luggage is going to be transported by vehicle from point to point. That means that during the day, you're just going to carry a day pack. This could be sort of 25 to 35 litres capacity. You'll need to carry your water, and obviously you'll need lots of water, camera, phone, sunscreen, a hat. You might want a waterproof jacket or a poncho. And your day pack really needs to have a hip belt and a chest strap, because it's more comfortable and it just spreads the weight that you're carrying through your body, which just makes it a lot more easy to carry every day. So how challenging is this trek? Well, it's graded as moderate to challenging for someone of a good level of fitness. And there's a number of factors that could make the trip challenging. You're going to be trekking an average of 13 kilometres a day over varied ground, with some steep and slippery ascents at times, and there'll be a lot of dense vegetation. It's likely to be quite hot. The temperature is going to be above 25 degrees, and it will be humid, which will make it feel hotter. In terms of accommodation, the hotels are going to be basic and more old-fashioned, so that's going to be a little bit different. And you may find that there's just some anomalies to do with life in Cuba that make things a little bit more tricky than you might be used to at home. Like I've said, possible low water pressure, limited food, things like that. In terms of trekking, please don't underestimate the importance of training for your trek. The more training you do, the more adept your body will be at recovering after a long day's walking. And then you can start the next day rested and well prepared. You must take responsibility for coming to Cuba as fit as you can be. So, how do I train? Well, the most important thing is to get outside and start walking. And if you're not a regular walker, then start slowly with short distances. And as you get more comfortable, increase your mileage and add in some more challenging terrain until you can comfortably walk for several consecutive days on hilly terrain with a heavy backpack. Hill walking with a backpack should feature highly in your training to prepare your body because you're going to be walking up a lot of hills in Cuba. There's other activities that can complement but not replace hill walking, such as running, cycling, gym workouts, boot camps, etc. And building up your core and leg muscle strength is really important. So squats and lunges and other exercises like push-ups, planks and crunches are going to enhance your training. But these can be done at home, so you don't need to join a gym in order to do those kind of things. You should take your training seriously. Arrive as fit as you can be so that you get the most out of this challenge. So I have a few frequently asked questions here, which hopefully will cover things that might have popped into your head. Communication. Now, you need to be prepared for a bit of a digital detox in Cuba. Internet access is improving, but it is scarce, and certainly it's scarce compared to what we're used to in the UK. You're unlikely to have any service while trekking, and connectivity may be unreliable elsewhere. The hotels probably will have Wi-Fi, but you'll probably have to pay for it. And you should double check with your network provider just to make sure whether you're covered in Cuba, and make sure that you keep your data switched off to avoid any unintentional data roaming charges. The currency, you're going to need cash in Cuba. Debit and credit card usage is very limited. Travel insurance is essential, and you must arrange this yourself. Different Travel is an authorised introducer of Campbell Irvine direct insurance policies. You can get more information about that from us. And equally, there are lots and lots of other travel insurance companies out there that can provide suitable cover for you. In terms of footwear, trainers are unsuitable for this trip. You'll need to bring proper walking boots. If you're wondering about an age limit, we have a minimum age limit of 18. Younger people aged 16 and 17 can come as long as they're accompanied by a parent or a guardian, and there is no upper age limit. Now, if you have any medical conditions, you might be wondering if you can take part in this trek. So we would say you probably can, but please see your GP for consultation. All medical conditions must be declared, and if our screening pinpoints anything, you might need to have to get a medical form signed by your GP. So who is this trek for? Who's right for who's right for the challenge? Well, it could be anybody and everybody. There's a picture here of just a group of our trekkers, and we've got everybody from people who are wanting to kickstart a healthier lifestyle, celebrating a big birthday, people who are starting a new career. We have parents whose kids have just left home and they suddenly find they've got time to do things that they couldn't do so easily before. We have people who are keen campers and trekkers, and we have people who have never done anything like this before in their life, who like a bit of luxury and are putting themselves out of their comfort zone. We have people who are dedicated to the charity that they're raising money for, and we have people who just think that this looks like a load of fun and a bit of a laugh. So it's really for everybody, and we get a great mix of people on our trips, which is amazing. How much does it cost? So a £495 registration fee is payable at the time of booking, and then you can choose one of the following options. You can either take the self-funded route, which means you pay your own tour costs of £2,495 by the 2nd of August 2024. You're welcome to fundraise separately for any charity of your choice, but this is not mandatory, and any fundraising undertaken may not be used for your trip costs. You can take the sponsorship route, where you fundraise £4,990 for your chosen charity by the 19th of July 2024. And this includes your £2,495 tour cost balance and a £2,495 donation to your charity. And the third option is Flexi, where you pay your own tour costs. Again, the balance is £2,495. And then you fundraise that same amount for a charity of your choice by the 2nd of August 2024. You might be wondering what support you'll get along the way. Well, if you fundraise for a charity, then their team will support you through the challenge with your fundraising, and they'll have lots of great hints and tips, which will really help you along the way. You'll be provided with a full kit list, a trip dossier, a training guide, and some discount vouchers. And on the trip itself, you'll be accompanied by a first aid trained tour manager, who's from Different Travel, and professional local English speaking guides. You'll have a pre-departure meeting with your teammates in Different Travel. And because this is a trip where people come from all over the country, it's likely that this will be online. So if all this sounds really appealing to you and you're thinking, how do I sign up? It's very easy. Just visit www.different-travel.com/trip/Cuba Explore Escambray and click on Book Now. Or you can just go onto our website and scroll through the trips. You'll see a screen that's a little bit like this. And then if you click on the Book Now button, which is down here on the right, you'll be able to fill in your booking form and pay your registration fee. So I hope that that's been interesting. I hope it's inspired you and made you feel that you'd love to come and join us on the trip. If you have any other questions, then you're very welcome to email us at info@different-travel.com, or go onto our website and find our phone number and give us a call. My colleagues in the office would be really happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you very much for watching.